Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Learn Canadian English live stream. And I'm teacher Ian, as usual. Today, we've got a great live stream. We're going to be talking about some grammar. This is a grammar lesson. We're going to be talking about conditionals. But of course, we're going to have fun. We're going to get some English practice, and we're going to learn a little bit about Canada while we're here. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that Right Start Newcomer Services conducts business in Chivuktuk, which is how you say Halifax in the Mi'kmaq language. This city is part of the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This means that when settlers arrived, the Indigenous people did not surrender their territory and instead signed treaties with Europeans. As a business, we're committed to upholding these treaties as we continue to build relationships between settlers, Mi'kmaq, and newcomers. Okay, so hello everybody who's here tonight, who is watching us either on YouTube or Facebook. I'd love for you to say hi. This is a very interactive lesson, so if you want to ask questions, if you want to just tell us how you're doing, if you want to introduce yourself, please do so in the chat. And we're always open to having new students as well as our regular returning students. Okay, so Pilar is here. Hey, Pilar. Pilar has been a student with us for quite a while. How's it going, Pilar? What's happening with you guys? And anybody else, if you want to introduce yourself and say hello, please do so in the chat. And then we'll get into tonight's lesson. Cesar is here. Hey, Cesar, I think maybe you're new. I haven't met you before, I don't think, but hello. So great to have new students join us. Welcome to the lesson. And I hope you learned something. That's the goal, right? The goal is that you learn, some English, you practice your spelling, you learn some new vocabulary, and we have a good time together. Okay, great. Welcome, Cesar. All right, anybody else out there? If those of you are watching the replay, you can also participate. You can ask questions. You can comment on the answers, and I'll get back to you in the comment section later on. Okay, so let's get into today's lesson. I'm sure some more people will be joining us soon. So today's lesson, like I said, is a grammar focused lesson, but it's really useful because conditionals are sentences that we use a lot. So they're used very regularly. It's good to be able to understand them and to be able to use them yourself. Motivate, thanks. Okay, not exactly sure what you mean there, Cesar, but thanks. I understand thanks. Motivate, the word motivate means, maybe you mean thank you for your motivation. So I'm trying to motivate you to learn English. Maybe that's what you mean. Okay, Cesar, thanks for that. All right, so conditionals are sentences that we use quite often. We'll learn a little bit more about what they are. But first, I want to go through today's lesson plan. The first thing we're going to do, as we usually do, is have a discussion. I'm going to post some questions. You guys can answer those if you want. And if you just want to kick back and enjoy the lesson and not participate, that's fine too, right? Whatever way you want to use this is up to you. Caesar's here. Hey, buddy. Good to see you again. And I hope you are doing well. All right. So today's plan, we'll do our discussion. We'll do a grammar lesson. So I'm going to introduce what conditionals are. We're going to go through the different types of conditionals. And then we're going to do a quiz. So it'll be a fun quiz. We'll see who the conditionals champion is out of all of you guys. And then we're going to get some practice. So I think we have 4 practice examples where you guys can work on your English and practice making conditionals yourself. All right, so I would love to hear from you guys. A good way to learn something new in English is to think about what you already know about that topic and either talk about it or write it down or something like that. So that's the idea behind our discussion questions. I get you to think about what you already know, and then we can build on that knowledge throughout today's lesson. So number 1, what is a conditional sentence? Very simply, if you're not sure, you might want to Google it really quickly and then write your answer in the chat. Number 2, what do we use them for? There are about 4 or 5 different reasons we might use conditional sentences, and try to think of some of those reasons. Number 3, what word do let's say most conditionals have? There's one word that is common to almost all conditional sentences. Number 4, can you give me an example? So this might be fun just to see if you can give me an example of a conditional sentence. And then finally, if you know something about conditionals, what do we call the different types of conditionals? So I'll give you 3 or 4 minutes. Think about those questions. Answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer as many as you like, but no pressure. Take off my glasses. All right. Who wants to go first? Break the ice a little bit. I know Christian likes to talk, so I'm sure he'll have an answer. But anybody else want to give me an answer for any of those questions? All right. So we've got one answer from Christian. It's a sentence, let's say sentence that poses an idea about a situation and the conditions to fulfill it. That makes sense. Yeah, it's an idea, something that, may be true or it may not be true. It may happen or it may not happen. So I think you're on the right track there, Christian. Sentence. Yeah, perfect. Anybody else have an answer either for number 1 or any of those other questions? I understand that not everybody likes to talk about grammar, but I really do. I am an English teacher, so we study about all the different names of parts of speech and all that stuff. So I'm a bit of a grammar nerd, and hopefully you guys are too. Because really, the more interested you are in a topic, the more you're going to learn about it and the better you're going to do. They say that if you're not interested, you just pretend like you're really interested. And eventually you will become interested. So start talking about grammar like it's the funnest thing in the world. And then eventually your grammar will get better and better. All right, Pilar. So if I don't drink coffee in the morning, I feel sick. That is a great example. And everything in your sentence is perfect except for one spelling mistake. Can anybody help Pilar with her spelling? If I don't drink coffee in the morning, I feel sick. Me too. I totally get that, Pilar. I'm addicted to coffee, especially delicious Colombian coffee. If I don't have coffee, I feel sick too. The point, yeah, I mean, period is great, but I was thinking the spelling of coffee. So coffee, double E, Coffee. Then you got it perfect, I think. That's great. All right. And thank you, Pilar. And Christian has a comment here. So it's used to think about possible outcomes for a situation. Exactly. So that's definitely one of the main uses of the conditional. Possible things that might happen. For example, if I drive my car too fast, I can get a speeding ticket, right? So that's another example of the conditional. All right, perfect. Thank you, Christian, very much. Hey, Viviana's here. Welcome back, Viviana. Conditionals are used to talk about real or unreal situations. In general, conditional sentence contain the word if. That is perfect. You sound very much like an English teacher yourself, Viviana. So nothing that I would change about that sentence and answer. That's a great answer, right? Real or unreal. That's important. So it can be used to talk about real situations and situations that are not real or not possible. And they do contain if. So that's an excellent answer for number 5, I believe. No, that was number 3. Number 3, all or most conditionals have the word if. And there we go. Thank you very much, Viviana. Christian spelled coffee. Pilar spelled coffee properly. If is the word that characterizes the conditional sentences. You guys are amazing. So I think we're good. I think we have an idea what a conditional is. We know that it's a sentence with if. We know that it can be used to talk about real or unreal or not possible things. Perfect. Let's move on. Great. So this is going to be a bit of me talking, introducing the different types of conditionals, but I'm still expecting you guys to pay attention and take part in this lesson. All right. All conditionals have two parts or two clauses. There's an if clause or if part, and there's a main clause or a main part. And they can come in any order. So you can begin a sentence with if, or the if can come in the middle of the sentence. For example, I can say, if I drink too much alcohol, I get drunk. Or we can switch it around and say, I get drunk if I drink too much alcohol. All right, so it doesn't matter really which order they come in, and we use them naturally either way. Here's another example. If it snows this weekend, I am or I'm going sledding. Does everybody know what sledding is? Have you ever been sledding before? And if we switch it around, you can say I'm going sledding this weekend if it snows. Do you know what a sled is? Do you know what sledding is? It's really fun. Let's see if I can find a picture of sledding. Hold on a sec. There we go. Whoops. All right, I'm just going to show a picture of sledding and then we'll move on. And I'm going to share. No, I'm not. Oh, yeah, I am. There we go. Okay, there's a picture of sledding. They're not really moving. I think there's too many people on that sled. But the idea is it's like a wooden thing that you sit on and it goes down a hill on the snow. This we would call a toboggan. So maybe that's a new word. That type of sled is called a toboggan. Toboggans are pretty fun, but they're a little bit dangerous because you can't really steer them very well. They have a couple of strings and you can pull on one side or the other, but you can really get in some trouble on a toboggan. All right, I'm going to remove that sledding picture and we'll get back to the lesson. All right, and Pilar says, do you practice sledding, teacher? You know, I'm pretty good, so I don't need to practice anymore. When I was a kid, I practiced, and then you get to a point where you don't need to practice. You know, I would love to go sledding. I don't have a sled. If you guys come, if you and Christian come to Halifax, we'll go sledding together on Citadel Hill. Okay, does that sound good? Okay, great. Yeah, it's a sled. Thank you, Viviana. Do you practice sledding? So sledding was right. You were right the first time. It's just the word practice, because practice means that I'm not very good at it and I need to try to learn how to do that. You know what I mean? So I would just say, do you go sledding or do you sled? Because, you know, once you're a kid, you learn how to sled and you don't need to practice anymore. Hey, Bay's back. How you doing, Bay? Long time no see. Hope you're doing well, and I hope you continue to enjoy our lessons. Awesome. So I think we're good. If clauses, main clauses, two parts, they can come in any order. That's all you really need to know. Let's move on. All right. Some of the things conditionals can be used to describe, and we'll go through the different parts. So we can use conditionals to talk about things that are always true, things that could happen or may happen, things that could have happened but didn't. Okay, we'll talk about this more, but for example, if I were taller, I would have been a good basketball player, right? So it could have happened, like my mom could have met a taller man than my dad, and they could have had taller kids, and I could have been better at basketball. But it's not going to happen, right? It's too late. I'm already as tall as I'm going to get. So we use conditionals to talk about things that could have happened but didn't, but maybe we wish they did. Things we wish would happen, same sort of thing, but maybe this is something about the future. I really, really want something to happen. Maybe it's possible, maybe it's not possible. All right, Christian says it sounds great. I think you're talking about the sledding plan. That sounds great too. All right, we have a plan when you guys come to Halifax. Awesome. Now I need to find some sleds. Okay. Basically, we use these conditionals for four main things. These are the things we can use them for. The main thing about conditionals is the verb tense. So this is where you have to really pay attention. We use totally different verb tenses in the if clause and the main clause, depending on what we're trying to tell people, what message we're trying to give to somebody else. And that will start to make sense as we go through the different types of conditionals. All right, we're already at the point where we're talking about the different types of conditionals. We call them, it's pretty easy, zero conditional, first conditional, second, third conditionals. So we'll go through four different types of conditionals. What I want you guys to do is to look at the example, talk about what is the meaning, or when is this type of conditional used, and also look at the verb tenses in both parts. What is it used for? What is the meaning? And what are the verb tenses we use? Oh, I don't want to give you the answer yet. So think about that. If it snows a lot, schools close in Canada. I'll say it again. If it snows a lot, schools close in Canada. So is this a real or not real situation? Is it talking about the future? Or is it talking about the present? Or is it talking about the past? So just think about that sentence, and then if you can try to answer those questions, it would be great. Now I really want to go sledding. Thanks, Pilar and Christian. I really want to go sledding now. Christina, yeah, it does. It does talk about the future. Hope you're doing well, Christina. It is the future, but it's also the present, right? And it's also kind of the past because, last year it was the same thing. If it snowed a lot last year, schools were closed. If it happens now, it's also true. If it happens in the future, it's also true. Hey, Irene, how's it going? Good to see you again. Welcome back. Welcome back to our lessons. And I hope you're doing really well. It's real. Okay, that's a great answer, Viviana. It is a real situation that does happen pretty often in Canada, depending on which city you're in. I would say in Halifax, schools are closed maybe at least 5 or 6 times a year because of bad weather, because of the snow, because of freezing rain. Other cities like Vancouver, maybe not very often. They don't get a whole lot of snow, so they don't close too much. Great. Okay, thank you, Viviana. It's for future situations and could be the present. Yeah, that's right. It's a recommendation. Well, it's a truth. It's what happens, right? There's no way to argue with this. It's a true situation that is always true. At least this part of Canada. Okay, so we know it's real. We know it's something that happens in the present and in the future. The zero conditional, we call it the zero conditional, is used for things that are true or always true. So let's go back to Pilar's comment before. If I don't drink coffee, I get a headache, or something like that. If I don't drink coffee, I get a headache. So that's something that's always true, at least until she is not addicted to coffee anymore. Let's look at the verb tenses. So if it snows, what verb tense is that? If it snows a lot. It is the, here we're just summarizing this. In the if clause, we use the verb tense simple. Present simple. There we go. Present simple. Very good, Irene. Excellent. Christian says present. So that's exactly right. In actually both clauses, we use the simple present or present simple. It's the same thing. So keep that in mind. Zero conditional when it's true. Something's true always. Simple present in both parts. If it snows a lot, schools close in Canada. All right, now it's your turn to try. Let's see if you can make a sentence using the zero conditional. Could be about snow, could be about Canada, could be about whatever. It doesn't matter. If you don't do it, something will happen. If you don't write a sentence, no, if I don't get any students, I'm sad. There's an example. Anybody want to give us a sentence before we move on to talk about the first conditional? I know you're probably typing away. Do you guys type with one finger? Or do you actually know how to type? All right. Viviana has a sentence. If it's when I don't want to leave the house and I have to bundle up. If it is when I don't want to leave the house and I have to bundle up. Maybe you mean if it is snowing, or if it snows, then I don't want to leave the house. I think I get your meaning, and you're pretty close, right? It's just that first part there. If it's when I don't want to leave the house. So you could just say, if I don't want to leave the house, I don't leave the house. Or if I don't want to leave the house, I stay inside all day. So something like that would be a great answer, Viviana. All right, great. If I don't sleep 8 hours, you're just missing your S there, Irene. I feel tired. Perfect. So that's something that's always true about you. And I feel the same way. Great job, Irene. If I study maths, I take a good math test. Pretty close. Maths, that's a good one because this is different in Canadian English. Canadian English, we just say math. British English, they say maths. So you're right, British English, they say maths. Canadian English, we just say math. So if I study math, I do well on a math test. I get a good score on my math test. So something like that. We just wouldn't use I take a good math test. All right, great job, Christina. Okay, Viviana, that's great. If I were good enough in English, I have done my immigration process. Ooh, not quite, Christian. So this is an unreal situation. Does that make sense? A real situation is something that is already true. Like if I speak English, people understand me, right? That's something that is already true now, not something that could maybe possibly be true in the future. It's tricky. Don't worry, we'll get more practice as we go. All right, moving on to the first conditional. So we talked about the zero conditional. First conditional, I'll give you an example. If you study hard, your English will get better soon. If you study hard, your English will get better soon. What is it used for? So is it used for the future or the present? Is it something that's true or not true? And what verb tenses do we use in both parts? Great. And I'll just go through Viviana's while you think about that. If it's no's, I don't want to leave the house. That is perfect because that's something that is true now. And Christian got it. All right. Great job, you guys. If you study hard, your English will get better soon. For the future. Yeah, it's talking about the future. Is it going to happen? Like, is it possible that this thing is going to happen or not possible? Great job, Pilar. That's awesome. It's a consequence. Good. Just change the C to a Q. Consequence is spelled with a Q instead of a C. Exactly. Right? So it's a consequence of doing something that is possible. Right? You can study hard. You are studying hard because you come to all these classes. And I know that your English will get better soon. It's easy. The first conditional is used for things that will probably happen in the future. So if you do the first thing, this thing will probably happen in the future. Great. And you're looking at the grammar. So you're seeing present simple. If you study hard, your English will get better. So we have first exactly what Christian said. We have the simple present and the simple future. Make sense? Now's your chance to ask questions. If you got it, try to make a sentence using the first conditional. I'd love to hear your sentences. If you don't make a sentence, I will cry. No, I won't. It's not that big of a deal. All right, so try to make a sentence. We'll check them and move on to, it gets a little tricky after this. So the first conditional and zero conditional, easy to understand, easy to make, no problemo. Then when we get to second and third, it gets a little tricky. So who wants to write out a first conditional sentence? Lorraine. Welcome back, Lorraine. And if you eat more vegetables, you will be healthier. You sound like my wife. That's something that she would say to me. Honey, eat your vegetables. Yeah, so perfect sentence. That's great. I'm just joking. She doesn't say that to me. Perfect sentence, Lorraine, and I agree with that totally. Christina, if you exercise, your body will be healthy. Perfect. You're missing one little thing, and I forgot to mention this. You need a comma. Look at the sentence that I gave. If you study hard, when your sentence starts with if, you need a comma after the if clause. If you start it the other way around, like your English will get better soon if you study hard, you don't need a comma. So good to point out that punctuation, if clause comes first, you need a comma. Okay, great job though. Your sentence is great besides the comma, Christina. If I save money, I will travel to Europe. Perfect, right? That's possible. It's something that can easily happen if you do what you're supposed to do. So that's a great example, Christian. Great job, Christina. Great job, Christian. Let's move on to our, oh no, I forgot to make it appear line by line, but that's okay. So our second conditional. This example, if I won the lottery, I would travel all over the world. Kind of like what Christian just said. If I won the lottery, I would travel all over the world. But the meaning is a little bit different. Okay, so if we look down below, the second conditional is used for things that are unreal or unlikely to happen. I'll say that again. The second conditional is used for things that are unreal or unlikely to happen. You know, maybe it could happen. It's possible that I could win the lottery, but probably not because, you know, not the average person wins the lottery. So, unreal, possibly going to happen, but probably not. Look at the grammar too. So we use this by using the past tense. If I won the lottery. And then in the main clause, we have to use a modal verb. So a word like would, could, might, one of those words usually. And then just our base form of the verb. So let that sink in. Think about it. Meditate on it. And your mind will open. Okay. So think about it a little bit. Try and make a sentence using the second conditional. This one's a little bit tricky. And I think we have some sentences already. If you practice your pronunciation, your English will improve soon. Great. So that was the first conditional, right, Viviana? If I do yoga, I will always be in shape. So again, that is the first conditional. If I do it, I will be in shape. So that is a real thing that is very much possible. All right. Thank you very much, Irene. If Christian saves money, he would travel to Europe alone. Oh, trouble in paradise. Okay. If Christian saves, you probably want to put your S there. If Christian saves money, he will travel to Europe alone. So again, this is first conditional. Second conditional, you have to use past. If Christian saved money, he would travel to Europe alone. But the way you say it makes me sound like he won't save money. So maybe Christian's not good at saving money. And that is not a real thing that could possibly happen. So you're close, Pilar. You're getting close. Change the grammar a little bit, maybe change the sentence around, and you're on the right track. All right, great. If I traveled to Dubai, I would get married with a rich man. Okay, let's say to a rich man, and that's perfect. So probably Christina's not planning to go to Dubai to meet a rich man, but you never know, right? Maybe you'll meet an oil baron, and yeah, he'll take you around in his 15 cars and you'll have a great time in Dubai. I wanted to live in Dubai. So back, when I was a younger man, that was my plan, was to move to Dubai. They paid English teachers really well there. And the number one thing is that there's no income tax in Dubai. So I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm going to go make some good money, not pay any tax, live like a king. But that never happened. I stayed in Halifax. All right, great sentence, Christina. I like that one a lot. Pilar's laughing. Okay, great. If I were rich, I would buy a private jet. You got it. You got it, Lorraine. You're not rich. I mean, that's not saying you will never be rich, but you're not rich now, right? If I were rich, I would buy a private jet. That's a great sentence. If I haven't said that, Pilar wouldn't be mad at me. Very close. You're so close, Christian. You just want to say past. If I hadn't said that, Pilar wouldn't be mad at me. So this is kind of an unreal thing because you can't go back in time, right? As much as we might want to, it's not possible to go back in time. So change one thing, Christian, if I hadn't said that, and your sentence would be perfect. If I did my job, I would have free time. Yeah. So you don't do your job. Maybe if you did your job faster, but maybe it's not possible, right? So if I did my job faster, I would have free time. And that makes sense, Irene. Oh, yes, I hadn't. Okay, great. These conditionals are not something you're going to learn in a 45-minute or 1 hour class. This is something that you have to practice, you have to reinforce, and you have to listen carefully for when it's used by English speakers, when it's used in movies and stuff like that. All right, if the quarantine ended, we would be able to travel freely around the world. Yeah, that's great. But it will end. It will end at some point. The way you said it is perfect. But you could also say it another way. And you could say, when the quarantine ends, we will be able to travel around the world. And then that's a first conditional. Perfect. And Viviana said, if I won the lottery, I would like to buy an island. Or you could just say, I would buy, right? If I won the lottery, I would buy an island. And would like to buy an island, that's fine too. Great. Yeah. Maybe you can buy, I don't know, there's lots of islands for sale. Would you want to live away from other people? I guess nowadays everything's online anyway. So that's cool. All right. Last conditional, and then we're going to play our quiz game, and then we're going to get a little bit more practice. Third conditional. All right, this one's a little bit tricky. Let's read this. If you had gotten up earlier, we wouldn't have been late for class. If you had gotten up earlier, we wouldn't have been late for class. Oh, sorry. Did we talk about the verb tenses in the last one? Let's just skip back a sec. So I know you probably know this, but with the second conditional, it's past tense. So if I won the lottery, modal and base verb. Yeah, I think we did talk about that. Sorry, I'm losing it. All right. We use the third conditional for situations that didn't happen, and then to talk about their imaginary results that would have happened in the present. It's confusing. Let me say that again. It's used for situations that didn't happen. So unreal, didn't happen. But what would have happened? Like, what would have happened if that other thing had happened? Okay. In terms of the grammar, this is a little bit harder to make because it uses the past perfect. In the if clause, had gotten. If you had gotten up earlier, so that we would call the past perfect. And we make it with had and then the past participle, which is gotten. You know, when you started learning English, you learned 3 forms of the verbs: get, got, gotten. The past participle is the third form, the gotten form. So we have to use the past perfect. And then in the main clause, we use a modal again. So again, would, might, may, those are all modals you can use. And then the present perfect, which is have gotten or have been or have done. Think about it, let it absorb into your brain, and then try to make a sentence. Okay, so I'm looking forward to hearing what these sentences are. And if you get this, then you're really smart. You're really an English genius if you're able to use this one properly. And I know in Spanish you have similar verb tenses to English, not exactly the same, but it's pretty close. So those Spanish speakers out there might have an easier time with this one. All right. So Christian, I think you got it, my friend. If I hadn't eaten so much, I wouldn't have felt sick. Perfect. Yes, that is a great answer. If I hadn't eaten so much, I wouldn't have felt sick. So you did eat a lot. It's not possible that you can go back and not eat as much. And you would have felt differently. You would have felt better if you hadn't eaten so much. Perfect. Great job, Christian. You must have a good teacher, right? If you're able to do it so easily. Lorraine says, if you had paid the bill, we would have power. Yes, that is another perfect sentence. So that is a great third conditional because somebody didn't pay the bill, right? It's done, it's finished. And now we would have power because you would have paid the bill. One little mistake, Lorraine. Paid. How do you spell paid? And if anybody else wants to give us an example, that would be awesome. Okay, Lorraine, so paid, P-A-I-D, paid. P-A-I-D, paid. Okay, great, you got it, no problem. Awesome, Viviana has a sentence. If you had taken care of yourself before, you would not have gotten sick. Beautiful sentence. That's a great sentence. Only little problems are capital I on if. You're missing your comma after your if clause and then your period at the end. So I know I'm a mean teacher because I correct those mistakes, but you know, if you want to be perfect, then that's why we're here. Okay, great job, Viviana. And Christian says, in Spanish, the grammar of this conditional sentence are hell on earth. Okay, really? That's funny. I think we're going to have fun sledding. You guys seem like a really fun couple. All right, if I had wrote a magazine, I would have won a prize. Oh, you're so close. Christina, you're so close. If I had... So wrote is the past tense, right? Write, wrote. The third form is written. You want to write, if I had written a magazine, I would have won a prize. And then your sentence would be perfect. Great job, Christina. Irene said, if I had did, same thing. So if I had done, right? So first is do, did, done. If I had done my job yesterday, I would have had free time today. So let's just fix that up a little bit, Irene. If I had done my job yesterday, I would have, you could say, I would have had free time today. And then your sentence would be perfect. Okay, Viviana corrected her capitalization. Al's here. Al says written. Good job, Al. Christian said written, and Barbara's back. Hey, Barbara, if you had studied harder, you would have passed the exams. Perfect. That's a great example. Perfect spelling, perfect punctuation. I can't correct that. All right, I think we get it. I think, wheels are spinning. We're starting to get it. Let's do our quiz. All right, this is, it's not really for anything. It's just for our practice and for some fun. Let's see who can get the correct answer. So I want everybody to answer if you can. You can add up your score, see how many you get out of the 10 questions, and that will give you an idea. How is your grammar when it comes to conditionals? Number 1. So could be any of the 4 conditionals we talked about. Number 1, water boils if you it to 100 degrees Celsius. So would it be will heat, heated, heat, or could have heated? While you guys think about that, Christian says, Pilar wouldn't have been so angry at me if I had included her in my travel plans to Europe. Definitely. Absolutely, definitely always include your wife in your travel plans to Europe. You should have asked me first. I would have told you that. All right. What are you guys saying? Let's say C. C. Al agrees that it's C. Might be wrong. That's okay. That's why we're here. And Barbara says C as well. And Pilar is laughing at Christian. And Christina says C. C is correct. All right. So the answer number 1 is C. This is the 0 conditional. Water boils if you heat it to 100 degrees Celsius. Everybody agrees. C, C, C. Al is loving English. English is fun. I agree. Yahoo, I'm enjoying this. Awesome. That's what I'm here for, buddy. Moving on. Number 2. They wouldn't have lost the hockey game if the right winger something down. So you probably don't know too much about hockey, but a winger is one of the players on the team. They wouldn't have lost the hockey game if the right winger would fall, hadn't fallen, fell, or didn't fall. You can just put A, B, C, D. All right, we've got some answers coming in. Christian says B. Al says D, didn't fall. Pilar says B. You know what? I think this is one of those mixed conditionals. So we said, there are 4 conditionals, but there are also mixed conditionals. But I didn't want to make it too difficult. Lorraine says B. Christina says B. B is correct. But Al, I accept your answer. D, it's okay. It sounds good to my English ears. So, hadn't fallen is great. Didn't fall is okay as well. So, you get it. If you said B, you're correct. D is correct. Both of them sound good. You got it, Irene. So, B or D, either of those is correct. We're going to go pretty fast because we don't have that much time left. How about this one? If he called her, she something out with him. If he called her, she something out with him. Would have gone, is going, went, or would go. And what's Al saying? Hadn't fallen sounds too high profile. Yeah, maybe it sounds like you're trying to sound smart, but it is correct, right? You can't argue with being correct. All right, but yeah, I kind of agree. But like I said, you can accept both of them. So what are we saying here? If he had called her, she something out with him. And we've got some answers. Al says A. Irene says D. I think it's D, Barbara. Great. Anybody else? Christina says A. It's a tricky one, right? We all said that, conditionals aren't easy. For this one, Lorraine said A. Actually, the answer is D. If he called her, she would go out with him. To make A correct, you'd have to say if he had called her. So you'd have to use the past perfect, had called, she would have gone out with him. So correct answer, D. D, D, D. All right, who said D? Barbara said D. Christina said A. Christian said B. Najmun, hey Najmun, you said D, you got it. Good guess, A. I understand why it's D. Yes. Does that make sense? So this is a real, this is what is it? Second conditional. If he called her, she would go out with him. So it's possible. It might happen. Yeah. It's not something that's impossible because there still might be a chance that it happens. Whew. It's hurting my brain. All right. Oh, here's one about Christian. Christian will become a millionaire if he a good job in Canada. He will become a millionaire if he will have gotten, or gets. Thinking carefully. Oh, we got a bunch of new students. That's great. And I think it starts here. Mauricio, hey Mauricio, welcome to the lesson. Mauricio says A. Al says B. Barbara says A. Christina says B. And Najman says D. And Viviana says D. Where's Christian? It's a sentence about him, and he's not even answering his own question. Maybe he's saving up his money for his trip to Europe. Changed your mind. Oh, D. Correct answer is D. D. So Christian will become a millionaire if he gets. You have to put the S because this is the simple present. This is first conditional, right? It's something that is possibly going to happen. I'm shocked. Okay, he's shocked. It's possible, right? The house is divided with the answers. Let's find out exactly. Pilar got it. Mauricio got it. A lot of people got it. Some people changed their answer because they forgot to put the S on gets. So correct answer is D. I hope everybody agrees. Number 5. This is a hard one. If Justin Trudeau wasn't the son of a prime minister, he something elected. I don't know if you know, but Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, was a prime minister back in the 1970s and 80s. So, A, wouldn't have been elected, would have been elected, isn't going to be elected, or wasn't elected. All right, some answers are coming in. Lorraine says A. Anybody else? Think carefully. Sometimes it helps to say it out loud. because when you say it, you hear it. And as you get better in English, you train your ears to be able to hear what sounds better. And it's okay if you don't know exactly grammar, the names of all these things, but you know what sounds right. So try saying it out loud if you're not able to get it just from reading. All right, Lorraine said A, Pilar said A, Najman said A, Irene said A. Everybody's saying A, but Viviana says B. Correct answer is A. A is correct. So if Justin Trudeau wasn't the son of a prime minister, he wouldn't have been elected. So he was elected, right? He became the prime minister. Now he's on his second or third time. But this is the unreal conditional. This is the third conditional that gives us a lot of trouble. Okay, Christina also said B. So correct answer is A. If Justin Trudeau wasn't the son of a prime minister, he wouldn't have been elected. That's something to think about. All right, moving on. We've got, I think, 4 questions left. Alberta, something so rich if they didn't have all the oil and gas deposits. I don't know if you know, but Alberta is a province in Canada. They have lots of oil and gas. Alberta wouldn't be so rich. Alberta isn't so rich. Alberta would have been so rich, or Alberta were so rich. Najmun says A. That's a great guess. Lorraine says A. Irene says A. Great. Christian says A. Barbara says A. It's A, right? Alberta wouldn't be so rich if they didn't have all the oil and gas deposits. So they are rich, but they wouldn't be if they didn't have all the oil and gas deposits. I think that's the second conditional. You guys are amazing. All right, what about this one? I get so stressed out when I something the news. When I watch, when I will watch, when I watched, or when I would watching. I get so stressed out when I something the news. All right. Lorraine, I'm not sure if this is for the last answer or this answer, but the guess is A. Najman says A. Great. Barbara says A. Very good. I'm not going to give the answer just yet till a few more people answer. Christian answered A. That's great. All right, A is the answer. So this is the zero conditional. This is something that's always true. I get so stressed out when I watch the news. So you got it. I think everybody got that one. I think we've got 3 questions left. All right, here's a good one. If I were you, I something your job because your boss is a moron. Moron is kind of like an idiot. So if I were you, I your job because your boss is a moron. So will quit, would be quit, quit, or would quit. So I believe this is the second conditional, something that's not really possible because I can't be you, right? All right, and we have some answers. Najman says D, Christian says D. Anybody else wanna give an answer before we move on? Irene says D. Great. Pilar says D. Great. And Christina says D. Yeah, it is D. So if I were you, I would quit your job because your boss is a moron. All right. Perfect. Everybody got D. You guys are awesome. two more and then we're done this part. If I had studied harder in university, a doctor. I didn't study very hard in university. Sorry about that. But what would it be? I became a doctor. I could have become a doctor. I will become a doctor, or I was becoming a doctor. If I had studied harder, Christina says C. Najman says B. Okay, we've got a little competition about this one. Christian says B. Couple more answers. Pilar says C. Great. Barbara says B. Irene says B. I think that's pretty much everybody. So the answer is B. I could have become a doctor. So not I will become, because it's not possible to go back in time and study in university. Correct answer is B. I could have become a doctor, but I didn't, so it's not possible. All right, last one. Beavers. We talked about beavers before. Beavers, something you if you get too close to them. Beavers, something you if you get too close to them. Would bite, biting, would have bitten, or will bite. Great, we have a question here. Barbara asks if I say, I would have become a doctor. Yeah, so you can change could to would. And then it doesn't really change the meaning at all, and both of those are correct. All right, great question. Najman says D. Great. Mauricio, I think, says B. Christian says D. Sorry if I missed anybody's answer. The correct answer is D. Beavers will bite you if you get too close to them. So this is first conditional, right? It's something that will probably happen if you're silly enough to get close to a beaver. Beavers have those big teeth, right? Those big yellow teeth, and they bite through trees, so you don't want to get close to a beaver. All right, that's our quiz. So think about how you did. Did you get all of them right? Did you get some of them right? Did you get nothing right? And that sort of tells you how much you need to practice your conditionals. And there's lots of websites. So just Google conditionals practice English. There are quizzes, there are lessons, there are tons of things out there on conditionals. So you decide if you need more practice or if this is something that you get and you don't need to practice much. Awesome. Last thing that we can practice is finish the sentence. So I'll give you the first part of the sentence, and I'm just going to hide my logo there so you can see the sentence a bit better. If you guys want to practice a bit more, give me a sentence. If it's cold and snowy outside, how do you finish that sentence? And I think we've got 4 of these and then we're done for the night. If it's cold and snowy outside, I stay inside and drink beer. I go for a walk with my Tim Hortons coffee. I dress up in warm winter clothes. Oh, Najmun, I think you want to say I stay home, right? Because this is if it's cold. You might say if it were cold and snowy, I would stay home. But if it is cold and snowy, I do stay home, or I stay home. Great. I drink hot chocolate. Very good. We like hot chocolate here too. Hey, New York had, I think, New York, NY. Welcome. I don't recognize you. Welcome to the lesson. And that's a great sentence. I stay at home. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, perfect. All right, next one. If I go to Banff National Park. So this is a park we talked about before. Huge, beautiful, amazing park in Canada. So if it's snowing, you should stay indoors. A lot of people say that, but you don't have to stay inside when it's cold and snowy. You can go sledding, you can go skating, you can walk around. All right. I stay at home watching TV. Okay, great, Barbara. You're very welcome. Welcome to the lessons and hope to see you again. How about this one? If I go to Banff National Park, I will. So, what will you do in this amazing, beautiful park in Canada? I will be amazed. Good answer. I like that, Christian. I will enjoy sightseeing. Great, Najmun. Have you been there yet, Najmun? I know you guys have been in Canada for what, 3 or 4 years or so. Did you make it to Banff yet? It should be on your bucket list. It should be on something that you guys plan to do someday in your life. I will take a lot of pictures. Great. I will take many photos. Okay. You two sound like you would be good friends. Pilar and Irene, not yet. Najmun hasn't made it there yet. And when I went, it was a long time ago. I was really young the last time I went. All right, great sentences. How about this one? If I could do anything I wanted, I would. What would you do? If you could do anything, don't worry about money. Don't worry about you're too old, you're too lazy. What would you do if you could do anything in the world? If I could do anything I wanted. That's fun to think about, isn't it? What would I do? Man. I don't really want to buy a boat. I don't really want to buy an island. I don't know. I just like to travel. I'd like to travel around the world. I'd like to help a lot of people. Maybe I'd start a charity or something. Anyway, what would you guys do? If I could do anything I wanted, I would read until I drop dead. That sounds pretty good to me, actually. So just read, not do anything else, not work or anything like that. That's a pretty good plan, Christian. I would. So you just have to say, I would travel. I would travel all the time. I would travel all the time. Sounds like a great plan, Christina. I would time travel. Okay. Travel in time. Would you go back or would you go forward in time? By the way, if you guys haven't seen the movie Back to the Future, that has a very famous Canadian actor, Michael J. Fox. Watch that movie, and it's all about time travel. All right, great answers. And last one. If I would have done something differently, how would your life be different? So, for example, if I would have studied harder in university, I could have been a doctor, or I would have been a doctor. So think about maybe something that happened in the past. How would that have changed your life? I have seen that. Okay, that's a great movie. I have to watch that again. Back to the Future. All right. Did you know he was Canadian, Nashman? So if I would have, I do regret not doing better in university, right? I did well in high school, but I didn't study very hard in university. I was a little bit depressed, but I really wish I had tried harder. And I wish I had done something about money, like finance or investments or something like that. But, I can do it as a hobby. All right. So last one, and then we're done for the night. If I would have scheduled, or maybe if I would have stayed on schedule earlier, I could have finished on time. So if I would have stayed on schedule earlier, I could have finished on time. And that would be a great sentence, Najman. All right. Anybody else want to give me a sentence for this one before we go? Oh, I'm keeping you late today. What a bad teacher. You're welcome. Najmun. No problem at all. If I would have been a pilot, I would be gallivanting around the world. All right, great word. I love that word, gallivanting. I use that quite a bit. It's like gallivanting is when you don't care about anything. You just go where you want, do what you want without any worries. So that's a great word, Christian. Yeah, so I don't see any other. Oh, here's a couple more sentences and then we're done for the night. If I would have, let's say, bought. If I would have bought a motorcycle, I would have traveled and enjoyed nature. So this was the third conditional. If I would have bought a motorcycle, I would have traveled and enjoyed nature. So this is one of those that's not real or not possible, Irene. But your sentence is pretty good anyway. And if I would have had or have made a lot of money, I could have traveled to other, no S on other countries. Great. So again, this was supposed to be an unreal. If I would have had a lot of money, I could have traveled to other countries. And that would be a great sentence. All right. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. I hope you learned about conditionals. I hope you had some fun. We learned some new words. We played a game. Thank you so much. And I hope it makes you like grammar a little bit more, because I know grammar can be a little bit boring, but if you make it fun and if you have games and if you learn with your friends, I don't think grammar is too bad. All right, what's Christian saying? I just read it yesterday and I loved it. We don't have a word like this in Spanish. Great. So gallivanting is a great word. That's another thing. If you come across a new word, use it. Use it, practice it, use it in these lessons, use it in your life, because if you don't use it, you lose it. Awesome. You're very welcome, Pilar. I hope you guys have a wonderful night. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back on Monday with a brand new lesson. So take care, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.